Hi, this is Bill Storm, and welcome to the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. There are 15 laws and 15 lessons in this training series, so I'm excited to get started with lesson number 1, the Law of Intentionality. So the first time that I read this chapter in John Maxwell's book, it reminded me of a story, so I wanted to share it with you today. So the question is, have you heard of Edwin C. Barnes? So John Maxwell, the author of the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, says that growth doesn't just happen, right? We've got to be intentional about it. And his statement reminded me of a story I read when I was a teenager about a man named Edwin C. Barnes. And his story is literally one of the best examples of intentional action to achieve a desired result that I've ever read. And it literally became the blueprint for fast tracking my way to the top. So in his book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill tells us of a story named Edwin C. Barnes, who made up his mind that he was going to go into business with Thomas Edison, whether Edison liked it or not. And despite having no money and no relationship with Edison, Barnes hopped on a freight train and managed to get an audience with a famous inventor. So Hill recounts that first meeting. Mr. Edison said, "He stood there before me looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression on his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after. And I had learned from years of experience with men that when a man desires a thing so deeply that he's willing to stake his entire fortune on it, on the single turn of a wheel to get it, he is sure to win." So Barnes had no money to begin with. He had but little education and he had no influence, but he did have initiative, faith, and the will to win. And with these intangible forces, he made himself the #1 man with the greatest inventor who ever lived. And it should be noticed that it took Barnes 5 years of nonstop effort, hustle, and tenacity to get his chance to finally work side by side with Edison. So Hill noted, Barnes did not say, "I will work there for a few months, and if I get no encouragement, I'll quit and get a job somewhere else." He did say, "I will start anywhere, and I will do anything that Edison tells me to do. But before I'm through, I will be his associate." He did not say, "I will keep my eyes open for another opportunity in case I fail to get what I want in the Edison organization." But what he did say was, "There is but one thing in this world that I'm determined to have, and that is a business association with Thomas A. Edison. I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want." He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. So this story of Edwin C. Barnes had such a major impact on me that I've used this approach 3 different times in my own life to take my personal and professional life to the next level. So the first time was back in 1989. This is when I aspired to become a martial arts school owner like my mentor. And he wasn't aware of it, but I had already decided in my own mind that I would work my way to win a seat at his boardroom table, right? But at the time, I was just the janitor. I did the whole wax on, wax off thing, right? But it didn't take me long to work my way into a position as the new member enrollment director. And eventually he even invited me to move into his home so I could shadow him and learn the ropes as his apprentice. Sounds an awful lot like Barnes' story now, doesn't it? All right. Now, the second time was in 2006 when I met my next mentor. And I reached out to him initially via email to let him know that I was interested in learning from him. So he responded with a question and he said, "What are you currently reading?" I thought that was an interesting response. So I responded and said, "The Tipping Point" by Malcolm Gladwell. And I included one of the takeaways I got from the chapter I was reading at the time. So Mr. S and I immediately connected over this by exchanging emails about what we had learned from this book and many other books over the next 12 months. And eventually, not only did I become his apprentice, but eventually he invited me to partner with him on a new venture. And then the third time was in 2020 during the COVID shutdown. And while I had time on my hands, I decided to take my speaking and presentation skills to the next level. To be the best, my thinking is that you have to learn from the best. And I'd always wanted to connect with Tony Robbins, so I took the opportunity to see if I had what it took to become a world-class speaker and audition for a spot on Tony Robbins' elite speaking team. Now, it took me 6 months of hard work and perseverance to make it happen. Now, Tony didn't know it at the time, but I had already made the decision and would not be denied. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of questions. Number 1, what are some of the wins you've had in your life when you are intentional about taking the necessary actions to realize the outcomes you're after? It's a great question because sometimes we have to celebrate our victories. Now, John Maxwell says that growth doesn't happen by accident, right? We have to be intentional about it. So the second question is what intentional actions could you take right now to take your leadership and team building efforts to the next level? So here's an easy way to get started. Go ahead and take out your worksheet and complete the worksheet, right? Because when you do that, when you put pencil to paper, pen to paper, or even your iPencil to iPad, and you complete the assignment, you're basically taking the things that you're learning and you are imprinting those things on your subconscious mind. That is being intentional about your growth.